it's Jasmine. Welcome back to GGTV. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm just trusting and believing God that you're here for a purpose and for a reason. And so hopefully something that I say in this next video will be something that you've been looking for or some wisdom that you needed so that you can then go on, like, share, subscribe, and then pass this information forward. So give you a second to subscribe, to like, all the things. Okay, now let's get into the video. Anybody who knows me or who has spent any kind of time around me, they know that I love leadership. All things leadership, leadership development, leadership training, leadership workshops, leadership books, everything about leadership. Anywhere I go, if I meet a good leader, I just feel the Spirit of God just pressing it upon me to honor that leader, because being a good leader is hard. Leading people, we know how difficult we can be. It's hard for there to be good leaders whose hearts stay pure, whose hands stay clean, and whose actions remain full of integrity in this kind of society and world we're living in today. So I love good leaders. I have a soft place in my heart for anybody who is a good leader. It is a passion of mine to develop and train leaders who can go on and be great. I train and develop people to lead. And so this video today is about leadership icks. And when I say ick, I just mean things in leadership that really make me cringe. Things in leadership that are super red flags, are ill. Let's stop doing that right now. So we're going to talk about 5 leadership icks that I have personally. Now, there could be many more. Okay, this is not an all exhaustive list, but I try to make this list as general as possible so that a lot of different things can fit underneath this umbrella. These are in no particular order. It's not like most ick to least ick or anything like that. My first one is leaders who don't serve. I really don't feel like you can be a great leader if you don't have a servant's heart, because leadership is about service. Leadership is not about authority. Leadership is about influence and impact, right? People will follow a leader who has influence and do so gladly and give it their all versus a leader who's just a dictator or who's authoritarian or who likes to throw their leadership experience and titles and weight around. People will run away from leaders like that. It is very icky that there are leaders who just don't serve. How can you say that you would lead a people that you would not be willing to extend service towards? It is amazing when we see, just think about it in a church aspect, pastors who are sweeping the floors, who are holding the door open, who are greeting people, who do anything that looks like service. Leadership dinners, when pastors cook for people, host events to celebrate the people who serve in the church. Like, those are amazing things that solidify a pastor who is a great leader. Now, I'm not saying a leader has to do everything, because that's what teams are for. Everybody's not graced to do everything. There are some people who are not graced to hold the door open and greet in the morning because they're not morning people. There are some people who are not graced to create the slideshows for the board meetings and things like that because they're just not creative in that way. Leaders don't have to know it all and to do it all. But you can tell based on a leader's conversations if they are a true servant or not. You can tell based on how they respond to people if they enjoy serving others. Even Jesus was a servant. He washed his disciples' nasty feet. Okay, they walked everywhere back then. So you know those feet were hard and callous and probably a little stinky. But he said, unless I wash your feet, you have no part of me, right? Leaders need to be that same way. Unless I am able to serve you, I have no business leading you. You have no business being attached to me unless I'm able to serve and pour into you as well. We don't want to be leaders who are leeches. We want to be leaders who pour out and serve. My second one, leaders who don't care. Leaders have to care about the people that they are serving. It is a prerequisite to having awesome leadership. We have to realize that the people we are leading are not just butts in a seat or butts in a chair. They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're not just numbers a part of some kind of end all be all goal of impact, right? These are human beings. These are souls. And I think if more leaders were able to humanize the people that they were leading and care more, I think we would be that much more effective in our leadership strategies, because it would be coming from a place of love and not from a place of authority, not from a place of selfishness, but our leadership can now be selfless because it is all about the people, that we care about them. Now, sometimes there needs to be discipline, right? In a worldly sense and in a spiritual sense. Sometimes leaders have to come down hard on the people they're leading. Discipline does not mean that there has to be no love or no care in the way that we give out the discipline, right? Even in that, you can show that you care for people through your correction and things like that. Quick story time. So while I was director for campus ministry a few years ago, there was someone who was above me, right? I wasn't like the head honcho leader or lead pastor or anything like that. I was just a director, a logistics director. And I remember that I had never really had any conversations with our global director. I had never really been corrected by her. I had never really, had a lot of chances to be taught by her, for her to teach me some of the things that she was doing. I was kind of learning everything as I went along and through observation and the Holy Spirit. And I remember there's one instance where I had created like a schedule for the upcoming worship night, right? So I had the spreadsheet and I was like, okay, 6 o'clock is set up and I organized everything. And I created this spreadsheet on my own because I didn't have any kind of template or example. Nobody was teaching me this. I know we need a schedule. I'm logistics director. Let's do it. So I sent it out. And then later on that day, the woman who was over me, she reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw the schedule you put out and it's not correct. We've got templates we use and this and that and the other. And here's how you can do it better for next time and all of these other things. Now, remember, this was a woman that I didn't have a whole bunch of relationship with and as it pertained to her being my leader, right? We knew each other for years, but this was a new role I was stepping into and we did not have any kind of leader and subordinate kind of relationship built up because there was no teaching or mentorship or any of that involved. So this was my first time really hearing from her, and it was a correction. And so when I talk about leaders who care, leaders have to be consistent in the correction and in the guidance that they give. Because if you're a leader who would just emphasize correction instead of emphasizing, celebration and love and all the things in between that and consistency in a relationship, people will run from you. They will resist you. They will reject you because they'll feel as if your leadership is just always this, you know what I mean? Instead of coming from a place of love. And I remember kind of bucking back when she did that. And I was like, hey, thank you for the correction. This is the first time I'm ever hearing anything from you about anything I'm doing. So I'm I take a little bit of offense to you coming in to kind of whoop me about something. And you have not discipled or nurtured me in this thing. And so you don't want to be a leader who people feel like every time you open your mouth, there's something harsh coming out of it. And you want to make sure that you build up that relationship of love before you come hard on people in that way. So I'm a family law attorney. There are plenty of times where clients may get behind in their billings and I may have to send an email that's like, hey, I need you to replenish your client account. It's getting a little bit low, all of those things. I recently had a phone call with a client who I wasn't even calling about the bill, but there were so many other complaints and things mixed in between it, where it was just the emails were getting extremely long, out of hand, all the things. So I was like, let me try to call and rectify or remedy this situation and see how I can help, right? I did not come into it with the intention of he needs to do what I'm telling him to do or she needs to do what I'm telling her to do. I went in and I said, let's pause. Let me see how I can serve here, how I can help here. So I called. The client immediately was like, I'm going to get you your money. I'm going to pay you the bill. Hey. I'm not here to talk to you about that. I actually just wanted to update you on some things. How can I help right now? And I think it really kind of extinguished the fires of intensity going on. So it really does help calm things down when you are a leader that cares first before you correct. Oh, that's good. That is good. That is good. Care before you correct. Okay. If you don't care, you do not correct. All right. Third thing. Leaders who don't listen. Leaders who don't listen. You cannot just be a leader with a mouth. We've got a lot of leaders who just have a voice right now, right? Leaders who can talk and talk and talk and it sounds good and all the things. But if you don't have ears to hear, you should not be having a mouth that speaks, because what you hear, your hearing will lead to understanding. And when you have understanding, then what you say has more significance, has more impact, has more meaning, and it is more clear. So leaders, we hear, we understand, then we speak. And we have to listen to understand, not to respond. Because if we listen to respond only and not to understand what that person is saying, one, it leads to point number 2 where you don't care. And then 2, listening to respond means that you're going to miss some things that you didn't feel were important enough to respond to. So you want to make sure that you are listening completely. Even the Bible tells us to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Quick to listen and slow to speak. Here's number 4. Leaders who don't celebrate. My God. Leaders who don't celebrate. We need leaders who are willing to celebrate their teams. When the teams get it right, when the teams can follow the vision, when the team meets their goal, the leaders ought to be the loudest ones in the room saying, yay, my team, you guys did great. Let's have a dinner. Let's celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and milestones and all these things. Because when you celebrate, it shows people that you're paying attention to more than just you. When you celebrate, it shows people that you are mindful that everybody has their own things going on, that everybody is trying to achieve their goals for the sake of the collective, right? And you want to be a leader whose eyes are open enough to see where we need to celebrate things. It builds up morale. It keeps people motivated. Then you've got people who want to come to work. You've got people who want to contribute, who want to serve, and not those who are doing it out of obligation. Because if they're just doing it out of obligation, they're only going to do the bare minimum. And if you want to be a leader with a team who goes the extra mile and takes initiative, you have to be a leader who's willing to celebrate when they get it right. And here's the last one. It is an ick for leaders not to defend the people that they serve. And I don't mean that we've got to go to war for them and start all these battles and all the things, right? Because then it kind of gets cultish. It gets cultish whenever we have people who are by any means necessary defend the fold. You know what I mean? And I don't want us to be out here being leaders of a cult. That's not okay. What I mean by defend is that when you see a sheep being attacked, you as someone who is in a position of authority, you need to be willing to go forward and protect that sheep, okay? There are a lot of times where clients will come trying to complain about me. They will go over my head to whoever's over me, but recently, I had a client complaining about me and saying, I don't feel like she's aggressive enough. And she told me this wouldn't be relevant in court and this and that and the other, whatever. And so client care reached out to me and was like, hey, can you tell us what's going on here? I'm an attorney. So I'm really good about the timelines, the date stamps, the paper trails, all the things. So I emailed back. I'm like, this is what I said. This is my advice. I would still stand by this advice, this and that and the other, right? No harm, no foul. My big boss, I like to call her big boss because she's like the manager over my manager. So she's big boss. Big boss was involved. And she's like, yeah, I agree with everything Jasmine said. We're not going to transfer him to a new attorney because that attorney will give the same advice. She was correct here. Let's figure out how we can, move this forward. I was like, yes, big boss on my side, right? And it strengthens the bond between a leader and those that they're leading because it shows the people you're leading that you see them, you value them, that you believe in them. It's really important for the people you lead to feel like you believe and trust them, right? And so now I admire and respect my boss even more because basically with what she did, my boss showed me that she trusts me to do the job she's asked me to do. And that is a very special thing for a leader to say to the people they're leading is, I trust you to do what you're called to do. I hope that as you're on this leadership journey, that you would continue to be developed, continue to be trained, continue to learn, always stay a student of leadership. There's no perfect leader. There's no leader who's always going to have it right. But the best leaders are those who would continue to learn. And so I'm praying for you that you will continue to find guidance and that you will continue to give yourself and those you lead grace while you're on this leadership journey.